With the recent attacks on foreign-owned businesses in Soweto and other areas in Johannesburg mere criminality or xenophobic, why were young people at the forefront of this looting and malicious damage to property? Under which conditions are foreign nationals allowed to operate businesses in South Africa? And how does the Small Business Development Department ensure compliance with legislation? What time is it? It's question time. Hello and welcome to the show. My name is Mpho Tsebi. Xenophobia, Afrophobia, criminality. These were the words used by some to describe the recent looting and damage of foreign-owned businesses in and around Soweto and other parts of Johannesburg. Triggered by the fatal shooting of 14-year-old Spiwe Mahori by a foreign shop owner at Snake Park in Soweto, since reminiscent of the infamous 2008 xenophobic attacks ensued, scores of foreign business owners were forced to flee the sprawling townships, with the role of the youth in this incident having evoked mixed reactions. While some have declared rampant youth unemployment a ticking time bomb, the Small Business Development Department has hinted at fast-tracking legislation aimed at regulating foreign-owned spaza shops in townships. My guest is the Minister of the Department of Small Business Development, Me Lindiwe Zulu. Minister, welcome to the show. You were indeed attacked and you came under heavy criticism that some of these things happened because you are not taking care of locals, or rather local small business owners and operators.
Well, the government of the African National Congress has a responsibility of taking care of all its citizens, first and foremost. But it also has a responsibility of taking care of those that have legally entered into our country, and they also are covered by the legislation and regulatory environment that covers everybody else as South African.
Criminal, xenophobic, Afrophobic?
It's a combination of all, to be honest with you, because when attacks are targeted specifically at a particular section, you do need to recognize the fact that it wasn't every spaza shop that was attacked. It was spaza shops that were owned by foreigners. But again, you must also take into consideration how it happened and why it happened. You said it for yourself that it was after shooting of a young person who, of course, we are sorry that a life has already been lost. And then the attack started on the basis that a foreigner had shot and killed a young person.
Now, does it in any way worry you, or at least raise questions with you, that young people were at the forefront of these attacks?
Absolutely. Young people shouldn't have been there. Young people are either supposed to be in school, in class, or they should be at home, or least they should be in libraries, or they should have been in activities where we expect young people to be, either kicking ball or chasing a ball, or just being involved in things that our society expects our young people to be involved in. Not in the streets, not looting, not behaving in the manner in which they were behaving. Now, I'm categorizing specifically, as you ask, young people.
Yes. Because what I learned or heard in the streets is young people are saying they are fed up, and probably this could have provided, the spark that they wanted to show that indeed they are fed up with the administration. It is not taking care of them.
Well, it's very unfortunate that being fed up about something then drives you into destruction. If then that is the case in South Africa, we have a bigger problem in our hands, which therefore we need to deal with, because being fed up does not equate to looting, violence, and all that we see on the streets. You cannot equate that. However, I do appreciate and I understand, particularly from a Department of Small and Medium Enterprise, which is new.
Yes.
And the reason why the department was formed, it was particularly to focus on some of these challenges that we are seeing today. And of course, we are going to be dealing with those issues in the long term. But however, there was this that happened now that needs us to think very fast about what can we do in the short term, as long as the long term, of course.
Now, where's your bias here? Are you biased towards South Africans, or are you biased towards small business in particular?
The first responsibility of government is to all citizens of this country, irrespective. That's the first thing. And the Department of Small and Medium Enterprises, when we started, we came in already and found reports that are related to such issues of foreign-owned offices and the feeling and the sentiments that were expressed by our own people, not only in the townships, even in rural areas, about the fact that they were feeling their space is being closed by foreigners who are owning those spaza shops. So our responsibility goes to our people, and consider the fact that the majority of black South Africans were completely cut out of this. They do not have the experience, they have not had the skills, and they do not have a long experience in terms of ensuring that they run their spaza shops as best as some of the foreigners are doing. We found that already on the table, and that's why in the department we then announced the fact that let us look at what is available, what has been done in the past, how can we improve that, and what else are we missing somewhere along the line. Hence we now have the task team that we're putting together, and the task team, by the way, will not just be a governmental task team or small business development. It will be an intergovernmental task team, because we feel the challenges that are faced by small businesses, particularly in this instance of what has happened, is not a responsibility of small business development alone. However, we must lead in it, because that's our responsibility.
Is the Freedom Charter perhaps not compromising South Africans here, that South Africa belongs to all who live in it?
The intention of South Africa belonging to all who live in it did not take into consideration a flood of foreigners coming into the country, if you think about when it was drafted. But it was also a base for the future. Because at the end of the day, if your constitution allows that you have other people coming from wherever they come from, and they are legally in the country, they are protected by the law of South Africa, including the constitution itself.
But surely you wouldn't be referring to people who are owning illegal firearms.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I mean, the very fact that there were foreigners who were found with illegal firearms, just the firearm on its own, it's another issue, because you know the ultimate result of the use of a firearm, what is it? So that is the responsibility of the law enforcement. That's why in the task team, we will make sure that we also have law enforcement participating, because we want to address this issue from a holistic point of view, than narrowly looking at it only from a business point of view. It's got elements of law enforcement, it's got elements of illegality, it's got a whole lot of elements in it, and our responsibility is to get to the bottom of it, and we cannot do that alone. What I would like to say is that I'm happy with the fact that some communities have come up on their own to say, yes, we live with these foreigners. We are fine with the foreigners. Some actually have come up to say 2008 was a big lesson for them. And they decided on their own as communities to do something about it. And I would like to say, as a Minister of Small and Medium Enterprise, I do believe that we cannot deal with this issue on our own. We need the communities also to be with us, including an understanding of the fact that they are here, they're running the businesses. And what can we get out of that? Is there anything we can learn out of it? And I know I've been attacked for saying so, but the bottom line is that those that are legal here, that are operating legally, you can't wish them away.
Hold the thought there. Small and Medium Enterprise Minister Lindiwe Zulu is my guest today. We're taking a quick break. Please don't go away. This is Question Time.
food for thought. In the words of Ray Davis, remember, a challenge only becomes an obstacle when you bow to it.
Of dedication and perseverance, Abayani Maitakore made history as one of South Africa's best performing matriculants of 2014, attaining 7 distinctions.
I believe that nothing should stand in your way if you see yourself in the future doing something great. So I just carried on and I never gave up. Though the circumstances I faced were challenging, I love challenges. So I was like, yeah, man, bring it on. I can do it.
Join me, Refiwe Muiba, on Bophelong, your show about those who take on and conquer life's challenges, every Saturday at 17:30.
Coming up this week.
Hello there, I'm Dr. Selombo Daou. Join me on Health Talk next Saturday as we discuss bites and stings from crawling and flying creatures such as spiders, scorpions, bees, mosquitoes, snakes. That's Health Talk on SABC News, Saturday the 31st at 9 in the morning.
Welcome back. You're still watching Question Time. My guest today is the Minister of Small and Medium Enterprises, Me Lindiwe Zulu. Now, Minister, you are very clear. You know, those that are here legally, they have a right to operate. Fact of the matter is, there's also those that are not here legally who are operating.
That is a big problem. I don't think there is a country in the world that can let that go by without being concerned about it. That's why we're saying in our task team, we need to bring on board Home Affairs, for instance. We need to bring on board the police or any other agencies that have to deal with this. We can't afford it as South Africa to have people coming in, doing whatever they want, anywhere, anyhow they want it. As I say, there's just no country that operates like that. We should also say we are a law-abiding country, and therefore the citizens who are in our space, both our own citizens and those that are coming from outside, need to know that there are laws in the country and those laws need to be respected.
But they are very quick to say, we don't expect this form of treatment from South Africans. You know, you're the last people that we would imagine you would treat us like this. You know, we hosted you when you were fighting against apartheid and all that. But I also know that you would be, one of the people to say, yes, we were hosted, but under particular conditions. You know,
absolutely.
You were not just roaming
No, we
around,
were not.
You know.
And the African National Congress, I can assure you, used to know exactly the rules, the regulation, the laws in the countries where we operated. Of course, we were all over the world, by the way, and everywhere we were in the world, we understood what the law was. You couldn't just roam around and do anything that you want. And we appreciate what was done for us. That's one of the reasons why immediately after independence in 1994, you saw a lot of people coming into the country, and we're still very appreciative, and we will forever be appreciative of that. However, we live in a world now where we understand that the resources that we have in the country are resources that we have to take much into consideration our own citizens, and especially because of the history from where we come from. And we would also like our brothers and sisters who are coming from all over the world, particularly from the African continent, to understand that we will never forsake them. But not forsaking them doesn't mean we must allow lawlessness, doesn't mean we must allow people to come in anyhow they want to. Least of all, be in possession of illegal firearms, which we are also struggling to make sure that even our own citizens are not in possession of illegal firearms.
Now, what is going to happen? Are you then going to say, Mohammed, you were under siege. You need to give this opportunity to Tsedu because he's a local. Chances of him being attacked are slim. Or what is going to happen going forward?
No, the first thing that we would like to say as a department is that the integration of legal foreign nationals who live in South Africa, because they're almost everywhere. That must happen, which therefore means first and foremost they themselves must begin to understand the communities where they are operating. It's not about getting in there and saying I'm just going to make money, send the money home and not even keep the money and not make the money circulate within the community. You've got to be able to understand the community you live with, because first and foremost when you live within a community that you understand, it's the very community that's going to be able to protect you when wrong things happen. That's the first thing. Secondly, it's about ensuring that those that are operating legally, including the fact that even the goods that they are selling, it must be legal. We mustn't be getting the complaints that we get from some of our people that, no, the reason why they undercut us is because they're selling cheaper because they're getting illegal goods that they are selling around there. Thirdly, we think that it's important also for our own communities to really understand the fact that there are those that are here legally, they are here, they are protected. In fact, those that are successful, it's important for us to begin to say, what is it that makes them to be successful where we seem to have been failing? That's why I was talking about the fact that it might be a good idea to even share the experiences. And people are saying, well, people who are in competition with each other, how do they then go about sharing? Well, the responsibility for us as a department is that through our own programs which we have in place, we are to make sure that we empower our own people from a skills point of view. We empower our people by making sure that we've got the right infrastructure. Because one of the challenges you have is that you have people renting their back rooms because there isn't any other infrastructure that can be able to be used as just a standalone shop where people can say, well, I'm going to rent this container. I'm not going to be renting from anybody's house. So those are the things that we think are priority to us. But more than that, there's also regulatory, legislation. All those things need to be dealt with by our department. We must look at what the legislation that we have, is it conducive even for our own people? But is it also conducive for those foreigners who are operating legally? I mean, this is a new department, but I can assure you that the task is very big. And what I like about that we are now a ministry, coming out of the ANC's Lekgotla, it became very clear that we have a lot of support. Because if you look at the last statement that was issued by the ANC itself, you see that talking about small and medium enterprises and the support that government needs to have, it's already high on the priority from the way the ANC is looking at it.
Compliance to the laws and regulations of the country, tax matters, and all that. This seems to be a challenge. How are you going to get it right? Because I can bet you, my last dollar in my account.
Do you have a dollar or a rand?
Yeah, the dollar.
You prefer the dollar?
These guys, right, are not so compliant when it comes to tax.
Yes, we worried about that. But the issue is that we need to also put our systems in place so that we must be aware where they are, how they are operating. That's the reason why the department believes that as a national department, it would be impossible for us to be able to do that. We need to go into partnership with provincial and local economic development, because the registration of those businesses can happen at that lowest level. Because at the end of the day, the regulations that are covering them, you'd find that it's local government related. We need to then be in partnership with those levels of government in order for us to be able to deal with this. But the advantage that we have now, the fact that we have a ministry, it means the voice for small and medium enterprises is now heard not only at cabinet level, but all platforms of government where we can be able to express the challenges. I sit in the MINMEC, for instance, which is a combination of the ministers, the premiers, and the MEC. That's the platform that the department has to use to make sure that we develop systems in place that can be able to make sure people pay. People must pay taxes, because if you don't pay the taxes, mean that you are, those that are not paying the taxes are categorized already by government. And that's correct.
All right.
But however, in small and medium enterprises, there are those that also do not pay tax, like the hawkers and so forth. Some of these people need to pay the tax because they drive on the road, they enjoy some of the benefits in terms of the infrastructure and so forth. So we need to work out mechanisms. For us, it's about what kind of mechanism do you put in place that can be effective?
Okay.
Yes.
I want us to take a quick break. When we return, let's look at the outcomes of the Lekgotla in as far as SMMEs and cooperatives are concerned. This is Question Time. Please don't go away.
I would say there's no supplements or minerals, something that you can take will completely prevent cancer.
Although vitamins help the body produce and use energy, they do not provide energy themselves because they don't contain calories. Supplements also cannot be used to replace foods or make up for poor dietary habits.
Cases in Liberia are currently doubling every 15 to 20 days, and those in Sierra Leone and Guinea are doubling every 30 to 40 days.
Hi, I'm Dr. Matau. Watch Health Talk every Saturday on SABC News.
Welcome back. You're still watching Question Time. My guest today is Minister Lindiwe Zulu, Minister of Small and Medium Enterprises. Now, Minister, perhaps before we go into the Lekgotla matters, there were concerns raised that, in particular, or rather with specific reference to the Ethiopian and Somali business men and women, the monies that are being circulated there are, some of this loot from your pirates in the the Al-Shabaab operations and all that. Now, it would appear that if that's the case, then South Africa is becoming an easy target to clean money to pursue terrorism, goals and aims.
The legislation that we have in South Africa with regard to the issues of money and the circulation of money, you can feel it when you go to the bank. When you want to deposit, when you want to do something, they say proof of residence. If you don't have that proof of residence, it just goes to show that we are doing the best that we can to fight the issue of money laundering. It's not an easy task, as I may say, because there can be a lot of illegal activities where people bring their money to clean their money in South Africa. But I think that we are one of the best countries when it comes to the regulation, as far as, the World Bank and other institutions have identified South Africa as one of those countries that have really got systems in place. Okay. We cannot afford at any level to have that coming into play, because we know the dire consequences when you have money that's illegal circulating, entering the normal processes and procedures. So I think we have good enough legislation, good enough regulation. What I think is a challenge is still the enforcement of that. Yes.
Out of the Lekgotla, the ANC says SMMEs and cooperatives must be supported. All government programs must seek to provide markets for their goods and services. You're not doing enough there.
Well, we have not done enough in the past. And now that we have a new ministry, and also informed by the world experience of the opportunities of the possibility of SMMEs contributing towards the GDP itself, towards the economy of the country, The reason why we have a ministry and the reason why that you see it in the statement of the African National Congress is clear and an indication of a political will and an understanding from the ANC that jobs will not be created only by government or big business. The opportunity of job creation at that level of small and medium enterprises is really huge. And this is what the ANC is saying in the statement. Government departments have got a lot of resources in terms of services which need to be provided by government, and the role of small and medium enterprises is there. Okay. So we will be knocking on the doors of each and every department because we've agreed we have to sign transversal agreements with different departments. We'll be looking at the opportunities for small and medium enterprises in government, but as well as in the private sector, in the value chain.
How do you then go out to say to, and mainly, let me not necessarily generalize, but slant a bit towards the African majority, to say by small business, Minister, you are not necessarily talking about a spaza shop.
Oh, absolutely. This is exactly where the challenge is right now, because just because there were the unfortunate situations which have almost were trying to spread throughout the country, people narrow down small and medium enterprises and cooperatives to spaza shops. It's way bigger than that. Yeah. And that's the responsibility of government, particularly our department, to really direct our people to the real meaning of small and medium enterprises, the definition of even small and medium enterprise, and the separation between a spaza shop and a medium enterprise. That's why in the department of our department, we've got enterprise development as one of the areas which we think that we need to put a lot of resources into, skills development and a whole range of other programs which we put in place. It's about also informing people. It's our responsibility to inform people of the difference that we are talking about here. Okay. Those spaza shops are also important in the economy, and we think that it's possible for people who are running spaza shops today to develop into something bigger and bigger until it's a medium size
Will
operation.
Government procure their services?
That's the biggest challenge that we have. But the Lekgotla of the ANC has given that directive, that should happen, because we've already done the studies of the possibilities of how small and medium enterprises can thrive with the support of government and the private sector, by the way.
Minister, thank you very much. And perhaps before I let you go, Parliament or the State of the Nation is coming, and the EFF has threatened some behaviors.
Well, it's unfortunate. They can make the noise they want to make about that, but Parliament has got rules.
Will you be in Parliament?
Oh, absolutely, in full force.
Minister Lindiwe, thank you very much. That was question time for today. A big thank you to my guests and to you for watching the show. Have yourself a wonderful time. Goodbye.